She had thought she was alone in the house, the soft warmth of the shower enveloping her like a protective cocoon. But then, the glass fogged and words appeared, scratched across the mirror in cold, deliberate letters. "He's with me now." Panic surged through her veins as memories she thought were buried clawed their way back. Everything she believed about safety, love, and trust was about to shatter.
Hello, my friends. I am Olivia, and this is Olivia's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story.
I had always prided myself on being cautious, not paranoid exactly, but aware. Life had taught me to read between the lines, to notice the smallest inconsistencies, the way a smile lingers too long, or how someone's eyes dart when they're hiding something. After my last heartbreak, I wrapped myself in routines. Work, my small apartment, Sunday night baking. Predictable, safe, unremarkable. My name is Emma, and I suppose my need is simple. I crave clarity, the kind of honest love that doesn't make you question your own instincts. After losing someone I trusted completely, I wasn't ready to gamble again. And yet, here I was, trying to convince myself that the world wasn't filled with ghosts of betrayal. The shower had become my refuge. The steam curling around me, the rhythmic patter of water hitting porcelain. It was almost hypnotic. I liked to close my eyes and let the sound block everything else out. My thoughts would drift to simpler times, before life had been complicated by heartbreaks and lies, before the one person I had believed in had disappeared from my life without explanation.
That morning, the day had started like any other. Work emails, a half-hearted breakfast, the hum of the city creeping in through my window. Nothing remarkable. Nothing to hint at the storm that would descend in the most unexpected way. I thought I was alone, really alone, wrapped in that comforting cocoon of hot water and steam. And then, the mirror fogged differently than usual. I squinted through the mist, wiping a hand across the glass, and froze. At first, I thought it was just condensation streaks, random shapes formed by the heat. But the letters were precise, clear, deliberate.
"He's with me now." My heart slammed against my ribs. Every instinct I had honed over years of self-protection screamed at me to leave, to run, to call someone, anyone. My fingers trembled as I traced the message, half expecting it to dissolve under my touch like mist, but it didn't. The glass was cold beneath my fingertips, and the words didn't fade.
Memories hit me like a freight train. Memories of him, Alex, the man I had loved and lost, the man I thought I would never see again. He had left without a word 3 years ago, leaving a trail of confusion and heartache. And now, this message suggested he was here, that someone else had him, that my worst fears weren't entirely behind me. I ripped the shower curtain aside, letting a sheet of water spill onto the tile, and scrambled for my towel. My breathing was rapid, shallow, each exhale sharp in my chest. The apartment was quiet, eerily quiet. No footsteps, no sounds except the drain gurgling and the distant hum of traffic outside. But the message, that message wasn't quiet. It screamed in my mind. And then I saw movement behind the bathroom door. Slow, deliberate, familiar. My pulse thundered in my ears. My instincts screamed. My body wanted to bolt, but my legs wouldn't move. And just as I reached for the door handle, the door creaked ever so slightly, a whisper of sound that made every nerve in my body stand on end. My hand hovered over the handle, fingers stiff, palms slick with shower water. I wanted to pull back, to retreat into the safety of the wet tile floor and pretend I hadn't heard or seen anything. But some force,
I didn't know if it was curiosity, fear, or something more desperate kept me rooted. And then the door opened. A shadow filled the doorway at first, tall, familiar. My stomach lurched violently, and for a moment my mind refused to accept what it was seeing. Alex! It had to be him. The same green eyes that haunted my dreams, the same crooked smile that used to make me forget everything else. But something was different. There was tension in his jaw, a guarded hardness in his posture, and behind him, barely visible in the dim bathroom light, a figure I didn't recognize. "He's with me now." The words echoed in my mind again, each syllable a cruel echo that gnawed at my chest. Alex's eyes met mine, and I saw recognition flash there. Shock, guilt, something else I couldn't name. My legs finally obeyed my trembling body, carrying me backward against the wall. "Alex, what is this?" My voice wavered, thick with disbelief and fear. The figure behind him stepped forward, and suddenly the phrase on the mirror made sense in a way I didn't want it to. A woman, about Alex's age, her expression calm but fierce, her hand brushing against his arm possessively. She smiled, a cold, knowing smile. "Hello, Emma," she said, her voice smooth, deliberate. "I think it's time we all talked." Time. That's what I wanted. Time to process, to understand, to gather strength before confronting him. But the world wasn't giving me that. My pulse raced, each beat a deafening drum in my ears, and the steam from the shower mingled with the fear curling in my stomach. Alex's presence should have comforted me, but it didn't. Not with her there. Not with the words carved into my mind. I swallowed hard, trying to force myself to think clearly. Questions flooded me, each one sharper than the last. Why didn't he contact me? Why now and with her? Did he choose her? My chest tightened as if my ribs were being compressed by invisible hands. The water on my skin had turned cold somehow, and I shivered violently. Alex took a step forward, and I flinched instinctively. "Emma." His voice cracked slightly, almost a whisper. "I can explain." The woman's eyes flicked between us, and a smirk curved her lips. "Oh, I'm sure you can," she said. "But first, we need to clear some things up." My mind reeled. The room, once safe in its steamy cocoon, now felt like a trap. I could feel the tension in the air, thick enough to choke on. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but part of me, the part that had loved Alex so completely, wanted to hear him out, to understand why this had happened, why he had left, why she existed. I clutched the towel around me tighter, the fabric doing little to shield me from the shock, and I realized with a sickening clarity nothing would ever be the same again. And just as Alex opened his mouth to speak, my phone buzzed violently on the bathroom counter, the screen illuminating another message from an unknown number. "You don't know the whole story. Yet." My fingers shook as I snatched the phone from the counter, the cold screen biting into my palm. The message glowed ominously in the steam-filled bathroom. "You don't know the whole story. Yet." I felt a wave of dread wash over me. The words were simple, but the weight behind them was crushing. Alex's eyes never left mine, but I could see the storm behind them, the guilt, the regret, the fear of losing me again. "Emma, please," he said, his voice barely audible over the pounding of my own heart. "You need to hear me out." I wanted to scream at him, demand answers, shake him until he spilled every secret, but instead, I stayed silent, letting the tension hang like a thick fog between us.
The woman behind him, her name still unknown, crossed her arms and leaned against the doorway, her expression smug, almost mocking. I could feel her presence like a physical weight pressing against my chest. Finally, Alex took a slow step closer, careful, deliberate. 3 years ago, I made a mistake. I thought leaving was protecting you, protecting myself. I never wanted you to get hurt, but I see now I only made things worse. His eyes glistened with unshed tears. And now I'm trapped between you and her, and I need you to understand before judging me. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. The steam clung to my skin, but it couldn't wash away the fear gnawing at me. Trapped? Alex, you're with her now, aren't you? That's why she's here. That's why the message... My voice broke, and I choked on the words. Why would you... She's not who you think, Alex interrupted, urgency lacing his tone. He glanced at the woman, and for a second, her composed demeanor faltered. Emma, listen to me. She's part of this complicated situation, but not in the way you think, I promise. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to fall into his arms and hear that everything was going to be okay. But the reality staring back at me was harsh, tangled with betrayal, secrecy, and an unknown threat I couldn't see yet. My instincts screamed that I shouldn't trust him, and yet my heart, that traitorous thing, still beat faster at the sight of him. The woman stepped forward suddenly, breaking the fragile silence. Emma, you think you know Alex, she said, her tone sharp. But the truth is darker than you imagine, and you're about to find out why he left you. I backed against the wall, gripping the towel around me like armor. My mind spun, trying to make sense of the fragments of their words, the tension, the messages. Every rational thought collided with every emotional memory I had of Alex, of the man I had loved and lost. I realized then that I had no choice but to listen, even if it hurt, even if the truth shattered everything I thought I knew. Alex stepped closer, his hand hovering, uncertain, near mine. Emma, I've never stopped thinking about you, and I never wanted her to replace you. But the circumstances, they were out of my control. His voice cracked, raw with emotion. You deserve to hear everything. Before I could respond, the woman reached into her bag and pulled out a small, leather-bound notebook. She tossed it onto the counter, and it landed with a heavy thud. The steam from the shower curled around it, making the leather glisten like something alive. That, she said, her eyes locking on mine, contains the answers you've been desperate for. Every secret, every lie, every reason Alex disappeared. But once you read it, nothing will ever be the same. My pulse thundered. I wanted to retreat, to run, to pretend this nightmare wasn't happening, but my curiosity, my desperate need for clarity, was stronger than fear. I reached for the notebook, my fingers trembling, the towel slipping slightly as the cold air bit at my wet skin. And just as I opened it, I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the notebook, as if touching it would make the world collapse around me. Steam curled from the shower, clinging to my skin, making the air thick and heavy. I took a shaky breath, then opened the cover. The first page was filled with neat, precise handwriting. Alex's handwriting. My eyes darted over the words, absorbing each one like it was both poison and medicine. He had been forced into a situation I could never have imagined, a tangled mess of family obligations, threats I didn't understand, and a promise he made years ago to protect someone else, someone who wasn't me. The woman standing in the doorway was part of it, yes, but not a rival in love. She had been a victim too, someone caught in the same storm. As I read, memories of the past 3 years, the empty nights, the unanswered calls, the letters I had never received, slammed into me. Pain, yes, but also understanding. I had thought I had been abandoned, discarded, but the truth was far more complicated. Alex hadn't left because he didn't love me. He had left because he had no choice. Alex's voice broke through my stunned silence. Emma, I wanted to come back so many times, to explain, to hold you, but every attempt put you in danger. I thought distance would keep you safe. I never stopped thinking about you. His eyes glistened with unshed tears. The raw vulnerability I remembered from our first days together, now magnified by years of hidden torment. I looked at him, at the man I had loved and lost, and felt a wave of emotions I couldn't name. Relief, sorrow, anger, and something deeper, something softer, hope. You were keeping me safe? My voice was barely above a whisper, disbelief coloring every word. He nodded, swallowing hard. Every day. And now, I need you to decide if you can forgive me. I know it's asking everything, but I can't lose you again. The woman stepped aside. Her expression softened. Emma, you deserve to know the whole story. And now you do. Alex's love for you never wavered. He protected you in the only way he could. I felt tears slip down my cheeks, mixing with the remaining droplets from the shower. My chest ached with every heartbeat, but there was clarity now, a painful, beautiful truth. Alex had carried burdens in silence, and I had been blind to the full picture. Slowly, I let the towel fall from my shoulders, letting the water, the heat, and the emotion wash over me. I stepped toward him, cautious but unafraid. His hand reached for mine, tentative, hopeful. The world outside seemed to pause. The hum of traffic, the distant city sounds, the dripping faucet, all irrelevant compared to this moment. I don't know if I can ever stop feeling hurt, I admitted, my voice trembling. But I can see the truth now, and I want to try. I want to try with you. Alex's eyes shone with relief and love, and he closed the small gap between us, gently holding my face in his hands. That's all I ever wanted, to be with you, honestly, completely. For the first time in 3 years, I felt my heart unclench. The fear, the confusion, the shadow of betrayal, it all began to lift, replaced by a fragile, luminous hope. The mirror, once taunting me with those terrifying words, now reflected something else, a beginning, a second chance at love, tempered by truth and strengthened by trials we had survived. I smiled through tears, leaning into him, letting the warmth of the water and the truth finally soothe the ache in my soul. For the first time, I realized that love wasn't about certainty or safety. It was about trust, forgiveness, and the courage to face the storm together. And in that moment, with Alex holding me close, I understood that I was finally home.